like big example of that is RoboCop, a movie that Phil worked on and stuff. Love that movie, but then there's some awkward stop motion scenes with the guy falling out the window like and stuff with the overly long arms.
Driveby Movies, you're watching
Fresh releases.
My name's Blaze.
And my name is James.
And this week, we're talking the brand new film to Shudder, a Shudder original, Mad God.
Mad God follows a corroded diving bell that descends amidst a ruined city, and the assassin emerges from it to explore a labyrinth of bizarre landscapes inhabited by freakish denizens. That's one way to describe this movie, and also there's plenty of other ways to describe this movie. I feel like first and foremost, wow, we get a stop motion animated film, stop motion capture. That's been a while since we've seen something like this. Like at this point in time, I feel like the only thing we see really is just like, live action movies that might be produced by Tim Burton or, the creator of Coraline and his current endeavors as well. I know that Guillermo del Toro has a stop motion capture film about Pinocchio coming up, but it's like involving bugs or something along those lines. But seeing this movie is quite different. Huge background with it taking 30 years to reach us today. Blaze, what are your thoughts on it?
So this film, it feels like you said it's a stop. For me, I felt like it was like a stop motion masterpiece. There is at times like special effects and effects in this film that are breathtaking and incredible. There's also times where there's special effects in this movie that are less than stellar. But you have to just let it slide. I don't know which period in the 30 years in the making of this film that the lesser effects maybe took place. Sometimes some of them felt like it might have been more recent, but I think usually for this film it felt like some of the times when they were trying to blend live action with visual, with the stop motion, but also with visual effects and green screens, I just felt like sometimes that fell a little flat for me. But when it comes to the overall film, I just thought this film was absolutely breathtaking, incredible to look at. Honestly, the effects are really grotesque and insane, and it's just like a special effects masterpiece. But the story, I think, is nothing special. I think it's something we've seen before almost. But everything that you see within the frame is absolutely incredible, and it's truly of its own. But it does still feel reminiscent of other things we've seen in kind of this dark horror-esque, even stop motion space. I feel like, or adult animation space. So I think there's been some other stuff that are kind of similar, but I feel like this film takes it to like the next level, at least.
Yeah, and with it using like an older technique just makes this film still stand out amongst the clutter of just like, constant CGI movies. Like it seems like anytime a movie tries to go as like practical or old ways of filmmaking, it definitely like, captures the attention, whether it's like a film like Mank and its weird sound effect techniques that they use, or a movie like The Void that came out a few years ago that used practical effects reminiscent of The Thing. But going back to stop motion for a movie like this, it's just really cool to see in a horror element. And I 100% agree. The things that stick out like a sore thumb and don't really work and almost felt like, did you shoot this like a week ago, like during COVID or something, where like the live action kind of moments that were blended in with the stop motion or the green screen in the background, like those scenes kind of took me out of the film for a bit. I let it slide still just because like beforehand, like I'm captivated and like I'm just taken into a dream world. I give this movie credit for being like literally the images that I swear I've seen in my nightmares, and somehow it's like, Phil, like, are you Phil the director? Are you like reading my mind while I'm asleep or something? This is what I have dreams about, I feel like, and you like captured it on film in this crazy nightmare of a movie. But I gotta say 100% though, I agree with the story as well too. This movie is fantastic. It's something that I'm never really gonna forget and always gonna remember. But overall though, it's pretty dull length story wise, and just like that's the thing that's holding it back from me like want to revisit this movie right away, I'd say.
Yeah, I think maybe this would be a rewatch, sometime in the future for me. I don't think this is, like you said, something I'm gonna be revisiting anytime soon, especially because this film feels almost like it's definitely on the shorter side. It's 80 minutes, but because it's a lack of it's basically a silent film. There's pretty much a lack of dialogue. It does feel a little bit on the longer side because there's no dialogue, and a lot of the imagery is breathtaking, but also at the same time it's like all kind of within this same really weird corroded world that where kind of like it feels like that 80-minute runtime really drags. So I thought like everything was truly incredible. It's awesome. I took 30 years to create. This is Phil Tippett's career work. It's his lifetime masterpiece. And you might be wondering, who's Phil Tippett? If you don't know who he is, he's a special effects maestro, and basically I think his most famous credit that really became a meme and was like kind of noted for on the internet is like, who is Phil Tippett? He's the dinosaur. He has one of the most incredible and insane jobs on the original Jurassic Park. I think it was like it's not dinosaur handler, but I forget exactly what it is. But anyways, he was credited as like dinosaur movement specialist or something. And if you actually watch, there's a Netflix show called The Movies That Made Us, I think. And
yes,
there's a Jurassic Park episode, and they go into depth and they interview Phil Tippett about how he instructed the animators on that film how to move like a dinosaur. Like he would get them up out of their chairs in the office, and they would all walk around and kind of like pretend to move like dinosaurs, and they'd film it. So then they knew later on when they're animating it with visual effects and special effects how dinosaurs actually move instead of what they had previously thought in their minds.
Yeah, fun fact with that, I believe originally they were like trying to figure out what was going to look better, stop motion or, CGI and stuff. So like, cause stop motion, always has that, like, the failure of it, like kind of just like not flowing correctly when you animate it with live action people and stuff. Like big example of that is RoboCop, a movie that Phil worked on and stuff. Love that movie, but then there's some awkward stop motion scenes with the guy falling out the window like and stuff with the overly long arms. There's like sometimes it just doesn't look best at all times, and I remember they decided to go the CGI route with Jurassic Park. So it was kind of a bummer of a story, just because as groundbreaking as Jurassic Park is, like that was the death of stop motion animation within live action movies almost. Like of course it's still continued for few movies beyond that and still used in movies like this, as well as like animated movies like Coraline or Frankenweenie. But like it was just like sad to hear about that. And like around that time Bill must have started working on this project, but he was like, well crap, like not gonna bother with this movie just because CGI has now officially taken over and stuff. Like whether or not that was the case or not, this is a movie though that I definitely want to watch the behind the scenes for. And I hope Shudder, like gets the rights to that. I know Shudder likes to do a lot of documentaries on films, like whether it's like a, series of films or like, certain era films. But this is a movie that's like groundbreaking. You have the rights for distribution for it. Please, Shudder, like give us like, the makings of this, just because I'd love to see any footage that they might have had from the 90s or early 2000s to current 2010s that we're in. Wait, no, we're in the 2020. Sorry, apologies. But yeah.
What year is it? What's my age again? Yeah, I think that could be a possibility, especially knowing Shudder. I'm surprised actually that Shudder, I know that one of their whole like ethics and like morals as a streaming service is essentially making their releases. They have like essentially weekly releases or a couple times a month at least, but they make each release of an original Shudder original an event, which they do like a live streaming thing. They keep the conversation going. But I am interested and confused why they don't have like special features almost. Maybe they just don't have the rights for it, and the rights are going to go to like the DVD holders or what have you, and Blu-rays and stuff. But yeah, I feel like it would help to have like, because I've even noticed I'm trying to remember, I think it's Amazon's pretty good about that. When you click, I think it's Amazon, I don't think it's Netflix sometimes, but usually they make a different card. But essentially what I want is like when you see your card for your movie is you click it, and then it would have like the film first, and then maybe the trailer. I think Netflix always has like the trailers in there as well. But what about having maybe any special features that were created. Sometimes for a lot of this digital stuff, special features just clearly weren't created, but it would be cool to, you know, make an effort to create special features, whether they're just short interviews with the director or, you know, maybe something a little bit longer form, like a 20-minute documentary or something.
Yeah, where if there were any, like, I know that's something that's done on HBO Max, like, you know, the HBO will have blurbs of like a 10-minute video making of for a future upcoming movie, and they'll have it on there. But I've noticed that some of their Criterion movies, they'll have some making of on there, which is really awesome to see. But yeah, if anything could benefit most, I feel like Shudder would, just because we all know horror fans love hearing anything they can about a film that they're absolutely obsessed with, whether it's a movie like The Thing or something. Having that hub on there would be a fantastic idea. I know Shudder does have the trailer option for a movie normally. A couple movies on there don't have it, but it's very rare that it doesn't. But yeah, the idea of like having like a making of documentary with a movie like this, or, you know, VHS 94 that came out, whether it's like a Q&A from Beyond Fest or something like that, goes a long way for us fans of horror films like this, or something that's just so breathtaking to watch visually, like something like this too, just because, yeah, like I said, movie that, you know, is nothing groundbreaking story wise, but you really do have to see it to believe it, just because there's nothing ever going to be made like this. I feel like maybe short films or music video wise, I can imagine a bunch of metal or dark goth music videos being inspired by this movie, but just seeing, you know, a very interesting 80-minute movie that took so long to make, and like it's a huge success, and I am excited that this is like the #1 movie that Shudder's ever had for a release. So that's big news, and like it's well deserved.
Definitely. I think it brought in a different crowd also to Shudder that maybe hasn't tried the service yet. And I think both of us are huge fans of the service. And I just a little bit of piggybacking off what you said is I think you're right, where horror fans are the most voracious when it comes to just wanting. I feel like they're the biggest fans of all fans in a way. Yeah. Like, because pretty much all horror, like movie fans, are also fans of movies. There's very rarely do you find like a fan of horror that doesn't like really like even mainstream movie. I mean, like generally any mainstream movies, they like pretty much all movies. So I think horror fans just love it, like the behind the scenes making of stuff like that. So I hope that maybe Shudder kind of takes this a step further and makes even more of an event and more special their boutique service that they have going. And I think that this film definitely, you know, shed the light more on the service for other fans of films and just fans of special effects in general, and obviously a lot of Phil's fans.
Yeah, it's well deserved too. So, you know, here we are, you know, giving it positive saying and stuff. Be sure to check it out. You can check it out exclusively on Shudder. After doing so, come back here, let us know what you thought about it on the comments as well. Really appreciate it, and it's a great way to help support the show.
And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and click that notification bell to get all of our latest updates.
And be sure to catch all our social media links down below in our description box for Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Anyways, guys, that'll conclude this week's episode. Tune in next week for a brand new video.